I think we're ready.
Yeah, cool.
We're ready for
All right.
our Book Nook.
Book Nook. This is our very first Book Nook. So we have the co-author of Evoking the Egyptian Gods. So Ken, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited. For several reasons. Personally, I was one of the translators for the Tut exhibit way back when, and helped start the Egyptian Study Society through the Natural History Museum.
You're talking about the original Tut back in the 70s?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, so
I was
do I.
living in Chicago.
I mean, I was just, it blew me away. I thought, oh my God, this is home. I mean, I remember this. It's not like, oh, let's learn more about this. Like, oh my God, I remember this.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because when I was asked to help with this book, I had no real knowledge or understanding of the Egyptian pantheon. I'm more I'm more Celtic in my origins. And so how I got asked to do this is an odd story. What happened was I run a website, cyberwitchcraft.com, and Judith Page, who is my co-author, was going through the internet looking for websites. She was looking for websites that had information on deity, divinity, people's ideas of what it is and how it works. So she writes me an email and says, I really like what you've got on your website. Do you mind if I quote it? I will absolutely give you full credit in the book, but I'd like to quote it. I wrote back, I said, sure, no problem. About 2 weeks later, I get an email from her saying, well, how would you like to help me write the book?
Awesome.
Okay. Like I'm going to say no.
So this is somebody you didn't even know.
Right.
I mean, you didn't even know her.
She lives in France.
Oh,
wow.
may
we?
Yeah. So the entire book was done through the internet and email.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I've never actually met her. We have talked.
Wow. Baguettes. See, there you go. French bread. Grapes. Yeah. Wow.
So the whole thing has been very interesting in the fact that we have never met each other. We've never talked on the phone.
Oh my word.
Everything we've done has been through email.
Wow.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So she says, well, I'm writing this book, and here's what we're going to do, and it's roughly 20 different deities of the Egyptian pantheon. And she says, and I told her, I said, I really don't know a whole lot about the Egyptian pantheon. She says, go out on the internet and research,
and find out.
Which I did.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the writing of the book was me going out and finding sites and finding information, writing down notes, sending her the notes and saying, here's what I found.
But did you actually start invoking them? That's what I would like to know.
Did I?
Yeah.
You know, actually, I did. In the book, we talk a little bit about Sobek.
Yes.
Sobek is the crocodile-headed god, and he is the deification of the crocodile, of the Nile croc.
Yeah. And if he eats you, you get to pass by the whole journey into the underworld. Right. You go right into the field of reeds.
Right. And he's also known for having saved, I believe it's Horus's children in the net from the Nile. Right. And so he's known for finding things in the murky waters. And up until about 6-8 months ago, the last 10 years have been rough for everybody. Finding jobs and things, and in my particular profession, has been really rough. So she says, we invoke Sobek and see if he can help you with a job situation. So I did, and this was late spring, early summer of 2011.
Okay.
I keep forgetting what year it is. Not that long ago. And by August, I had a permanent job, making some decent money.
What page is that on?
Yeah. In fact, I need to do that too.
In fact, I'll be closing on a house in 2 weeks. So yes.
Wow! Did everybody hear that? Closing on a house? Oh wow!
Absolutely.
That's pretty impressive.
Okay,
this
I
is
need
one
to
of
buy this book then.
Well, and it's not just the book. See, this is one of the things that I think a lot of people don't always understand, is that you live your craft.
Yes.
It's not a matter of reading a book and doing a spell or a ritual.
Right.
It's pulling that information to you and using it in your daily life. Because the more you use it, the more you find things come to you.
Right.
And so I'm all about living my craft as much as possible. And if that happens to include an ancient Egyptian deity for the time that I need, especially if it's one that is going to be helpful in what I'm looking for, absolutely.
Well, that kind of touches on that whole concept of the threefold law anyway, right? That I think kind of crosses all those traditions.
Yes.
You know, put out the good and you get the good back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then the flip side of that, we won't.
Absolutely.
talk about that.
Well, and again, you know, this is a lot of things. Everybody has heard things like the threefold law: do good, and good comes back to you, or do positive, and positive comes back to you. Do negative, negative comes back to you. Harm none, but do what you will. And a lot of people see those words, they read those words, they speak those words, and they don't necessarily understand those words. And a lot of it's very difficult. In the book, and I have to admit, Judith is the expert on the Egyptian pantheon.
Now, she's an American or she's French?
She's Australian.
She's...
Yeah.
Okay.
She's an Australian living in France,
Shrimp on the Barbie.
So
who
does
is
she-
soon moving to England.
Does she speak France with an Australian accent?
Oh, that's
French with an
pretty
Australian
fun.
accent?
Vice
I've
versa.
actually wondered about that
Aussie with a
myself.
French accent.
Yeah, French with an Aussie accent. I don't know. I haven't had the
Okay.
guts to ask her. But she spent a lot of time in Egypt.
Okay.
And at all of the various sacred sites that we talk about.
Right.
And has actually seen this stuff. I haven't. I'd love to at some point. I'd love to go see the pyramids and the various other things.
Take me with you.
But I haven't gone there yet.
Okay.
She's actually spent quite a few months in Egypt and talking to locals and getting some of the local lore, and she's really good on understanding
Sort of the
culture.
pre-Islamic local lore.
Right,
Yeah.
and bringing that culture to life.
Wow.
And really what she wanted from me was my take on deity. How does deity interact and work with, or how do you work with deity in your everyday life? So a lot of the facts as far as, you know, who these gods and goddesses are and what they do, some of it's research that I did, but a lot of it is knowledge that she already had.
Okay.
And so then, and of course, she wrote all but one of the invocations. She's really good at these invocations because she studied with Maxine Sanders for years.
Okay.
Maxine Sanders was one of her teachers.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, Maxine's Alexander Sanders' wife. Alexander, of course, founder of the Alexandrian tradition of Wicca, and so which is not, you know, it's not named after him. It's named after the city of Alexandria, Egypt.
Right. So we actually have some people in the chat room that are saying, which Egyptian gods or goddesses would you invoke for physical healing? And then also somebody would like to know if you see similarities between Egyptian rituals and Celtic rituals. So if you could, let's address those.
There are quite a few gods and goddesses that you can invoke for healing, physical healing and such. Hathor would be, especially for women, Hathor would be very good. Isis being the mother. And both Hathor and Isis have that motherhood role about them. Hathor has more of the
Nourishing.
Well, actually, Hathor has she's more. I look at her as the every woman. She is the mother, the daughter, the sister, the lover, the sensual lover who calls you to her bed. Right. But she's also very much invoked for motherhood and birthing and things like that. Well, and
because she has, it's the whole cow symbol with the ears and the milk and the nourishing.
Right. And
whereas Isis,
and so Isis is that all mother figure, you know, like Freya or Hera might be in other pantheons. She's that mother of the gods kind of, and so she's got that motherhood role, and of course definitely was invoked for healing, for you know, if you had issues and you needed to be healed in some way.
Like near-death experiences. I mean, you know, she puts her husband back together.
Yes.
You know, creates the first mummy out of Osiris.
Yes.
So,
well, and it's interesting because we talk about that a little bit. Judith is very opinionated on a lot of things.
You think?
Oh, yeah. And so she has a real issue with the whole Osiris thing.
Oh, okay.
She looks at him as a usurper of the role of Anubis. Anubis being the god of the underworld and the one who actually does the embalming and the mummification. And Osiris came along later. And so she has some real issues there. She looks at the, you know, as far as the near-death experience, much more towards the Anubis and his role as the person who prepares the body for its journey in the underworld?
Well, personally, I find this a usurpation of role too.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because
Oh,
that.
you mean Anubis as with the scales? Is that what you?
Yeah,
what it is?
yeah,
because that would be
because
that would be Mott. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be Ma'at.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the judgment of
Yeah.
Ma'at.
And I have to say, we have no, as authors, we have absolutely no control over the artwork that goes
No,
on.
no,
the book.
I know, but I'm just
But yes,
saying that,
you're
that
right.
the religion
Absolutely.
usurped her role. I mean,
Absolutely.
and, in the first several dynasties, you saw pictures of her standing there with her hands out weighing the heart.
Against the feather, yes.
Yeah, so lots of things got usurped there. So to answer this other question in our chat here,
Egyptian,
as they're understood and practiced now, since a lot of the original Celtic rituals, of course, were lost to us, they
Right.
didn't have a written language, and
they did, but
Eventually.
it's
Eventually.
the problem with the Celtic versus the Egyptian. A lot of the history and a lot of what they did is actually literally carved in stone.
right, exactly.
Whereas
yeah.
the Celtic was not.
Right.
I've actually got a couple of friends who are Celtic reconstructionists, and what little I've been able to glean from talking to them, the main thing about Egyptian rituals is everything revolves around that yearly cycle and the flood of the Nile.
Right.
All
the
of
tears
their,
of Isis, right? Yeah.
All of their lore is about the flood of the Nile each year and the fertility that brings to the valley.
And order and balance, the ma'at, the order and the balance.
Absolutely.
Right.
Whereas the Celtic is 4 festivals throughout the year, and more around the seasons. Because in Egypt you really only have 2 seasons: the wet season and the dry season. Whereas in Celtic Europe, which was most of Europe at one point or another, you have the 4 seasons, and you have much more broad spectrum of the weather and what's going on in.
Well, they were in a more temperate climate.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
in Egypt, it's warm, it's hot. That's why they were running around naked.
Right.
Well,
Well, mostly, yes.
Well, yeah.
Shave their heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because they were wearing those wigs.
Yes.
It was hot.
Yeah,
But
all-
children didn't dress until they were
No.
practically in their teens.
Correct, and the boys at least had this curl, this lock of hair.
Well, the
that they,
royals did.
Yes,
The royals did.
and in fact, you can see statues of Horus the Elder where he has that lock of that says he's a young boy
Yeah.
as opposed to a full-grown man. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, which should have been obvious when he was running around naked anyway.
Well, this is true,
I
and
think.
when you live in a climate that's hot,
Hot,
arid, and dry,
hot, yeah,
desert,
yeah, right.
you can do that. You don't
do
need
stuff
to
like
worry
that,
because
yeah.
you don't need the protection of clothes.
Yeah, probably Denver today would not be a good place to be running around naked.
Well, in the summer it's not bad.
I said today, though, it's like, 20-something degrees outside.
Oh, today,
Yeah.
yes,
It's
yeah.
about 15 in the studio, but it's about 20 outside.
We're coming up on the beginning of spring, which means it's really, really cold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
and in fact, going back to that whole Celtic thing, according to the Celts, the beginning of spring, and I agree with this, the beginning of spring is actually the 2nd of February, Imbolc.
Yeah, Imbolc.
And,
Or
those of us...
Imbolc, as they say in Ireland.
Yeah,
Is the
and those of
second.
us who live in Denver and in the surrounding area know that February 2nd is usually really, really, really cold. We never have to worry about the groundhog seeing its shadow because it's cold and cloudy February 2nd.
Yeah, if he's
Well,
smart, he'll stay in his burrow
you
anyway.
never know, though, because of the fact that here in Colorado, especially around here, we have mostly sunny days.
Yeah, we have
That's
over
true.
300 days of
So,
sun a
we
year,
do. Yeah, more
but
than
that doesn't
Southern
mean it's
We're
warm.
California.
so lucky.
Yeah, sun, but not warmth, not
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Go